In this video, let's look at the most recent injury report for the Chiefs and the Eagles, and for the Chiefs side, note an interesting player who has been downgraded today to limited, and then have a brief conversation with Carrington Harrison of 610 Sports as he lists an unexpected but crucial X factor for this game against the Eagles. But first, how about those? What's up, guys? First up, Patrick Mahomes for the second time. Associated Press 2022 NFL's most valuable player. I just like to say league MVP sounds better to me. 48 of 50 votes, man. 2 people, for whatever reason, did not vote for him. I think 1 vote went to Jalen Hurts. The other one went to Josh Allen, I believe. Yeah, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, but Patrick Mahomes, man, 48 of the 51st place votes, garnering a total of 490 points. And second place was Hurts, taking 193. So it wasn't close. Mahomes got it for the second time in 5 years. Dude, it is crazy. Hosting 5 AFC Championship games at home, his third Super Bowl appearance in 4 years. And he also has a Super Bowl ring and Super Bowl MVP under his belt. We are living in some crazy freaking times, man. So I'm super freaking stoked for Mahomes. And he said in his speech that was pre-recorded, we're not done. We got a job to do Sunday, so let's go get that ring. And that's what we're all hoping for, man. So I definitely wanted to start this video off on a good, awesome note. Patrick Mahomes, MVP, MVPat. Let's go. You love to see it. And I'm super stoked and happy. Now let's go get a ring. And maybe Patrick Mahomes will also get Super Bowl MVP. I know that hasn't been done since like 1999. And I would really love to see it. I don't know about y'all. And next up, I want to talk injuries. But before I do, there was a sickness that I mentioned that was going around the Chiefs. I talked about it in yesterday's video. There was several players that have been sniffly, nasally, sneezing. Some people in the comments were saying, oh, it's just allergies. I think Chris Jones today in his presser mentioned it was allergies, kind of joking about it. I don't know. There's quite a bit of people. Travis Kelce was the next victim, at least that I heard today. He was sniffly, coughing. Then obviously Frank, Chris Jones, Mahomes the day before that. So either all these players are getting allergies at the same time due to the climate, I'm not sure, or the humidity, the weather, it's super dry, or it's a cold going around. So some people were upset that I said it was potentially a cold. Well, I don't know. So I've looked it up. I've tried to find answers. And yeah, it's either allergies or a cold, but it's going around. Chris Jones didn't sound much better today. Travis Kelce was the next guy on the podium. So whatever it is, I hope they figure it out and get it all taken care of and buttoned up for the Super Bowl. And from here, let's look at the injuries real quick, starting with the Eagles and then the Chiefs. A lot of players on here were limited, but a lot of people just resting. The players on here who are not just resting, you have Britton Covey, hamstring, he was limited. Landon Dickerson, elbow. Lane Johnson, groin. Cam Jurgens, hip. Avonte Maddox, toe. And then Robert Quinn, foot, but he fully participated. I did have a conversation today with Thomas Mott. He covers the Eagles. He has his own YouTube channel. You can check out our 30-minute conversation we had earlier today. But he did not seem concerned about any of the injuries on the injury report. He said that everybody's going to play. And so that's what it's looking like right now. As far as the Chiefs injury report goes, everybody was a full go today. And that includes Kadarius Toney with the ankle. They did ramp him up. So yesterday he was a limited participant. We were talking about that, just wondering how will Kadarius Toney look as the week progresses. You want to see them full and then stay full. And so that's why L'Jarius Sneed popped up on the injury report today, and that's a little concerning to me. He was cleared from concussion protocol, and when I saw he was added back, I was like, oh, is he having a setback with the concussion? And no, that is not what's happening at all. It's actually his knee. But Charles Goldman does note, he said, L'Jarius Sneed has been on the injury report with knee issues since week 7, or with a knee issue since week 7. He has been a full participant in every practice up to today, I think. And Charles knows his stuff. So that sounded right to me when I was like, oh, wow, Sneed with his knee. He's been on there before because of it. Charles then said something to monitor, but wouldn't be shocked if it was just a maintenance day of sorts. And yeah, if Sneed's knee is bothering him and they know he's going to be good to go for Sunday, why not just back off and make sure that he is close to 100% as he possibly could be? Sneed has been on and off the injury report throughout the weeks, for a couple of different things, and he's played pretty much every time. Remember the hip pointer that he had? He played. The knee that's popped up now, he will probably play Sunday. I'm not super concerned about that, but it's been on there before, and he's played through it. As far as everybody else on the injury report, it's all the same. Kadarius Toney, remember, limited yesterday, fully participated today. Great news for him. Then Sneed popped up on the injury report as limited, but everybody else fully participated all week. Willie Gay, shoulder. Patrick Mahomes, ankle. Jerick McKinnon, ankles. Pacheco, wrist. Trey Smith, ankle. And Juju Smith-Schuster, knee. And I did want to mention something about running back Jerick McKinnon. James Palmer says that McKinnon is on the injury report. I'm told, though, he's completely healthy. No issues at all, just some treatment. He was a full participant yesterday. It's a formality to be listed. So most of these guys that are fully participating are good to go. And from here, I have an awesome interview with Carrington Harrison from 610 Sports. He's super knowledgeable, lots of fun to talk to about the Chiefs, and that's what we talk about. Chiefs versus Eagles, Super Bowl, all things related to that. He has some good nuggets in here. And then he also talks about an X factor of a player, an X factor that has to show up if the Chiefs want to win this game. And it was a little bit surprising to hear, but once he said it, it made complete sense. So we're going to get into that conversation. But first, I just got to say, I am extremely excited for the upcoming game. Current team versus former team. Talking about Big Red, brother versus brother. It don't get any better than that. And for that very reason, I'm once again partnering up with DraftKings to give all new customers a winning offer just in time for the big game. That's right. All new customers just need to bet at least $5 on the BIG game, and you'll instantly get $200 in bonus bets deposited in your account. And you may be wondering, what could I use $200 in bonus bets on? Well, you could try out same game parlays where you can combine multiple bets from one game, like which team will have the most passing yards and who will score their first touchdown of the night for even bigger winnings. And if mobile sports betting is not yet available in your state, have no fear, because you can still get in on the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy. So why don't you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now? New customers just got to use promo code HBTC, bet at least $5 on the big game, and receive an additional $200 in bonus bets. That's promo code HBTC only at DraftKings Sportsbook. And I know gambling addiction is a real thing, so make sure to take a look at this information and please reach out if you need any help. What are your current thoughts right now as things are sitting? I saw an article yesterday, ESPN experts, analysts, blah, blah, blah. 40-something picked the Eagles. 23 or so picked the Chiefs to win. Where are you sitting? What are you thinking?
I just want to make this one point. It's the Super Bowl. A lot of people are picking both teams. I think these two teams are fairly even. I think it's going to be a good game. All of those cliche things. I think you could strongly argue that Philadelphia is going to win this game for a bunch of different reasons. Offensive line, defensive line, their run game. I think you could do the same thing with the Kansas City Chiefs. They have the better coach, the better quarterback. What we just saw them do, I think they played better competition over the course of the year. So I think there's strong arguments to be had really on either side of the coin when it comes to this game. I've labeled Frank Clark as the X factor in this game. Like, think about the AFC Championship game and how much of a difference maker he was. In the two playoff games they've had so far, in the game against Jacksonville, he single-handedly forced a punt. You remember that series where he stopped the screenplay, he then got tripped on another play, and then got a sack the very next play. That's having an impact on the game. You basically forced a turnover on that possession. Yeah. I thought he did the exact same thing against Cincinnati. I thought he was very disruptive. On Monday, if we're talking about Frank Clark played really well, I think we're talking about the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. If Frank Clark isn't active, if he's a ghost in this game, I think the Chiefs lose. I think he's the most important non-quarterback in this game.
That's interesting because he is sneaky good against the run. I mean, people who like watch film and really study the team, I mean, they know how good Frank Clark is against the run, but I would say sometimes that gets overlooked. And you're just looking at how many sacks or pressures and stuff, and you're not accounting for Frank Clark and what he's able to do in the run game. So I actually like that a lot, especially considering how much the Eagles are going to run the ball between Hurts, Gainwell, and the rest of the gang that they got there. What about the other side of the ball? How concerned are you about the Eagles D-line? 70 sacks, 4 pass rushers with 10-plus sacks. What's the X factor on that side of the ball?
I think for the Chiefs, it's normally about who's that third offensive option. Kelsey's going to be a consistent. You can lock him in for about 80 yards. They normally get one other player to have a pretty good day. I mean, if Mahomes is going to throw for 270, somebody's catching the ball. It really comes down to who's that third producer for the team. Is it going to be Jerick McKinnon, who had a really big second half of the season? Is it Juju Smith-Schuster? Is it MVS? Who's that third guy? A matchup that I'm kind of looking at where if I'm Philadelphia, I'm attacking Andrew Wiley in this. He's the weakest Chiefs offensive lineman. You've got a bunch of pass rush. You've got Hassan Riddick. You got a lot of guys that you can throw at him over the course of the game. That's the person that I'm attacking. I don't think the Chiefs can really slow down the Eagles pass rush on that side, but this is where Jerick McKinnon is so important. This is where having the 4 tight end sets, having extra tight ends to help chip block on that side of the ball is so important, especially with Mahomes' ankle. I think the key to this game, and it sounds boring to talk about, is really how the Chiefs handle both sides of the offensive and defensive line, how they handle the Eagles' offensive line and they're perceived the best team, how we think they're going to be able to stop the run. And then on the defensive line, which you alluded to, them having 4 guys that get pressure, 4 guys that get to the quarterback. How do the Chiefs manage those two things are ultimately going to determine if the Chiefs win this game or not.
What do you think about Mahomes and his ankle? I know he won't be 100%. He will be better. But do you think because of Mahomes' ankle, I feel like they're going to have a bit of a game plan to get the ball out quicker than possibly normal? I know, like Coach Reed said, that they're not altering much in their game plan because of Mahomes' ankle. Like they basically think he's able to do it all, which he probably will, or be able to do close to it all. But do you think that's helpful? I mean, it's catch-22 probably. It's not helpful that Mahomes isn't as mobile as possible, but could it also be helpful that because of that, they may be setting up some extra protection for him like they did last game and then just working to get the ball out quicker than normal? You think that plays a positive factor at all?
I mean, this is why I really like Isaiah Pacheco's over on receiving yards. I also like Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon, we just talked about, was so good the second half of the season. He had 17 yards receiving in their 2 playoff games. Like, he was such a critical part to the passing game in the second half of the year and just was a non-factor in the 2 playoff games. Are they able to get him going and kind of turn that Eagles aggressiveness against them and use him in the passing game? I haven't really sensed a lot of concern for Chiefs, for Patrick Mahomes in this game. Let me know if you think this is fair. So I was on an interview yesterday and they were kind of asking me, like, hey, what's the mood in Kansas City? I think there was a sense of, I don't know, arrogance against Tampa Bay. Hey, we beat them in the regular season. We were 14-1 this year. They got old Tom Brady. It doesn't matter about the offensive line. We'll figure it out. Like, I thought Chiefs fans went into that game overly confident against Tampa Bay. This is more of a calmness to me in this game. Like, I think there's a respect for Philadelphia and what they've been able to accomplish. I think sort of the humbling of what happened in the Tampa Bay game kind of lets you know that you can't go into any game of this magnitude too confident, too turned up about what the outcome of the game is going to be. Like, I've kind of got that sense. But to your main point about Mahomes, I'm not that worried about it. There's no chance that you're going to be 100% with the injury that he has. I think we all know that. I think we all understand that. But if it's a pain tolerance and a pain management, I trust Mahomes to get his body right. I trust the Chiefs training staff to get his ankle right and get him where I think he can do 95% of the stuff that he normally can. I don't think he was that limited in the game against Cincinnati. You could sense that it was uncomfortable at times, but
yeah,
I really wanted to see on that 3rd and 5, that 3rd and 8, could he be mobile? Could he run for a first down? And the final offensive play for the game for the Chiefs was him running for a first down. He gets pushed out of bounds. We know how the game ends. So I don't come into this game with a sense of worry and concern for Mahomes' ankle. Certainly not the way I did for the Cincinnati game.
Let's talk real quick secondary with Sneed returning. How big is that for you in your eyes with Sneed coming back? And how do you think they're going to handle the Eagles, their passing game? And then to add something else in there for you, this is kind of a loaded question. Hurts in his shoulder. He hasn't been the same since returning. How do you think that affects their passing game as well?
I mean, they haven't really asked Hurts to really throw a whole lot, over the course of this postseason. I believe he has 49 combined throws in the 2 games. He had 24 against the Giants and 25 against San Francisco. I mean, it's obvious what Philadelphia wants to do from an offensive side of the ball. Like, it's kind of throw when necessary. They run the football so effectively. They use the RPO. They use the run game so efficiently that I don't know how much of a factor his shoulder is going to get in this game, because I think the pass attempts for Jalen Hurts is going to be relatively low. To your point about L'Jarius Sneed, I think he's their most versatile corner. We've shown him with the ability to play on the outside. He's shown the ability to play on the inside. He's shown the ability to get to the quarterback. Like, I think they use him. I don't want to say like how they used Tyrann Mathieu last year because he was like the ultimate Swiss Army knife. But a lot of times where they would send that guy off the corner to blitz, a lot of times that was Tyrann. They're using L'Jarius Sneed in that way. So I think it just changed defensively what they want to do. But I thought the Chiefs' young corner showed themselves pretty valuable in the game against Cincinnati, especially Joshua Williams, who was kind of thrown into it next man up mentality, especially going up against the offense that I think is so loaded when it comes to pass catchers like Cincinnati. So from a secondary standpoint, I think they're good. I actually think in this matchup, I don't think that either offense or either defense, has really seen what I think the other team can do. So if you're Kansas City, you haven't seen a team that can run the ball nearly as effectively as Philadelphia. Like you might argue San Francisco, but Christian McCaffrey wasn't there really and wasn't his full usage whenever they played San Francisco. That's the only team that's really close to running the ball to what I think Philadelphia can. If you're Philly on their side with the defense, you haven't played any of the top tier quarterbacks so far in this league. You didn't play Mahomes this year, didn't play Burrow, didn't play Allen, didn't play Herbert. You played Trevor Lawrence in week 4 of the season.
Dak.
When you played a top quarterback this year, for the most part, they scored on you. The Lions offense was pretty good this year. They scored 35 on them. They played Dallas later in the season. Dallas scored 40 points on them. So to me, Philadelphia's defense has a lot of those same core parts of Buffalo. How many times have we talked about Buffalo's defense coming into these matchups and Buffalo is ranked 1 or 3 against and I'm like, well, hold on. Well, you played Mac Jones twice. You played Zach Wilson twice. You played Tua. You didn't play against anybody. So you were just able to accumulate these stats against not top tier upper echelon offenses. So I'm going to be really interested to see how Philadelphia's defense looks against a team that can throw the ball, a team that can offensively present as many challenges as Kansas City does.
Where are you currently leaning on a prediction of this game? Do you have the Chiefs winning? How close? Or do you have the Eagles? What are you thinking right now?
I think the Eagles have a better roster 1 through 53. Like if you include offensive line, defensive line, secondary, all of those things, I think the Eagles have a slightly better roster than the Chiefs. But I think this is going to be a close game. And if this is a close game with 8 minutes to go, I'm going to take the team that has the better coach and the better quarterback. So I'm going to take the Chiefs to win this game 34-31. I do think it's going to be relatively high scoring. I do think it's going to be a pretty entertaining Super Bowl, one of the best ones that we've seen. I got a lot of respect for Philadelphia and sort of how they've built their roster. Like, there's really 2 steps of going about it. Like, it's either you do what the Chiefs have done and you go get the transcendent generational talent at quarterback the way that they have, or if you got a guy like Jalen Hurts, you got to really build your roster around his strengths and what he does really well. You got to make a trade for A.J. Brown to go get a wide receiver, the talent of he is. So you got 2 1A, 1B options with Devontae Smith. You got to have a really productive run game where they got 3 guys, if you include Jalen Hurts, that can really beat you on the ground. You got to have a top-tier defense so you're not getting into those shootouts and doing those things. Like Philadelphia has built a perfect roster for the quarterback that they have, the same way that Kansas City has, just 2 different stages of their organization and where they are. So I got a lot of respect for Philadelphia and what they've built this year. I just think we're looking at a dynasty with the Chiefs. I mean, 5 AFC championship games, 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. Sunday feels like they cap it off, and we are celebrating the Chiefs this summer as being the next dynasty in the National Football League, the same way the Patriots were, the same way that the Cowboys were in the 90s, the Steelers, the 49ers. Like, this just feels like that modern dynasty for this era in football. It feels like it's the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too, because I do think an X factor in this game, to me, is going to be coaching. Andy Reid, when he was with the Eagles, 3-0 against the Chiefs. Andy Reid, since he's been with KC, 3-0 against the Eagles. I think Andy Reid's going to have to come out with his A game. Spags is going to have to do the same thing on the other side. And if I had to choose between those coaches or the Eagles side, I mean, just with experience alone, Spags is in his 5th Super Bowl. I don't even know how many Coach Reid's been in. I'm rolling with them, and that's where I think if it comes down to a close game, I think in my opinion, it's going to come down to coaching. And obviously, they can't get on the field, but I think if they coach well in this chess match, Chiefs are going to win it. I have 30-24 Chiefs. But it could be, I mean, that's a 1-score game. Could be closer. You never know.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think you and I are on the same page. I think a lot of people are on this page. I really think it's defined by the Chiefs' defensive line in this game. I thought their defensive line was a difference in the game against Cincinnati. They dominated up front. The Eagles' offensive line ain't Cincy's offensive line. You know what I mean? Like, the Chiefs got 5 sacks. The Chiefs forced multiple intentional groundings, which are basically sacks. Like, they created constant pressure and disruption. So if they don't have to play how they played against Cincinnati, I don't think that's realistic against the Eagles. Are they disruptive and are they wreaking havoc? Are they noticeable? Do we think they're winning the point of attack? If that happens, I think the Chiefs win the football game. If on Monday we're talking about how Chris Jones was a non-factor and Frank Clark was a non-factor, I think the Chiefs lost that game, and I think they lost that game pretty decidedly. I think they lost it pretty handedly. That means Philadelphia really controlled the tempo, really controlled the flow of the game. I certainly hope that's not the case. The way that Chris Jones is playing, he's just playing on that, hey, I'm the best defensive player in the world kick right now. Frank Clark is playing some of his best football. You and I have talked about this before. It's just not that surprising to me. The Chiefs are at their best when Frank Clark is good. I mean, we've seen that now over the last 4 years. If you get the good version of Frank Clark, it is nearly impossible to beat the Chiefs because of their offense. And you got 2 guys, and it's not just Frank Clark. George Karlaftis got a sack in the last game. Dunlap was a factor. He just opens things up for so many players on that defensive line. You can't just double team Chris Jones. You got to account for Frank Clark. When he's playing his best, the Chiefs are nearly unbeatable. And that's why I'm saying in this game, I really believe that Frank Clark is the X factor. If he plays well, the Chiefs win.
You're right when you say this is not the same O-line. I mean, the Eagles O-line is the real deal. The Bengals were pretty beat up. I mean, I think 3 of their starters were out by the time we played them. The Eagles are a little banged up on their O-line, but they're all going to play. I'm still going to say they're way better than the Bengals O-line was, but it's going to be an interesting key to watch. Is going to be in the trenches. Same with the Chiefs, their O-line against the Eagles D-line. So love it, man. Appreciate your time. I know you're a busy dude, especially on Super Bowl week. Let the people know how they can follow you. Keep in touch.
Just listen to The Drive every Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 on 610 Sports Radio. Also, the Odyssey app that works about 35% of the time, but when it works, it's great.
I appreciate your honesty on that. That was funny. So shout out to Carrington for clearing some of his really busy schedule to link up for this video. What do you guys think about what was talked about? What are your predictions for this game? Do you feel confident that the Chiefs are going to get the dub? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?